Alright guys, this is a real quick video. You have a subwoofer box or speaker box. The hole is not big enough. You don't want to chingus it up with the jigsaw, only having to take 1/8 of an inch off. You want to keep it nice and do it right. Here's what you need to do. Alright guys, so these are the router bits that you're going to need to open the subwoofer circle and make it look really nice. So the first one, and I'll put a link below for these tools. They're not very expensive. You just need a router, and I'll also put a link for a cheap like $50 router that's actually pretty good, and it'll handle most of your box building or other carpentry needs. But this first tool has different size bearings with these steel wheels, and then a cutter, and you measure how far the cutter protrudes from the wheel. And this one I have on here is a 1/16 of an inch. So around a circle, that'll equate to an 1/8 inch larger hole. So what you do is you cut with this bit first, and you only make the cutter go halfway down the hole, and you route her around. And then the next tool to finish it off, you're going to use this. Now you got to watch. Sorry about my chicken. That was my bulldogs that passed away, and I kind of keep it up here on the bench because I want to keep her with me. Anyway, so the second tool, the bearing is towards the shank. Now you got to be careful because some tools are made for table routers that sit like that, and some are made for handhelds, but I'll put a link for these below. Bearing towards the shank. So when you cut the groove halfway down with this, now you go around with this tool, the bearing rides on the groove that you cut out, the first groove you cut out, and then it just opens the whole thing up. So, and I'll show you guys how to do it here shortly. Also, if you guys are interested, here's a cheap Amazon router bit kit that is actually, I think it's like, I don't remember how much it is. I'll put a link below. I think it's like 35 bucks. But I've actually used it a lot, and it's actually pretty good. But this is what I use on all my custom boxes. It comes with the roundover bits, trimming bits for when you want to even up the edges of your box. The only thing I bought is a Bosch straight cutter for when I'm like cutting the speaker holes out and stuff, because on that it's worth it to buy a good straight cutter for like 30 bucks a bit, because they do cut through. If you're cutting like double face 3/4 or 3/4 inch birch, they do cut better, and Bosch is a good brand. I'll put one of those in there, but you can get those at Home Depot too and whatnot. But this is a good cheap starter router bit set if you guys are looking for one. Okay, so what's going to happen is this steel roller is going to ride along the already cut hole, and then the blade is going to cut, and you do not want to have it cut all the way. Cut it about half. So set your adjustment to where you're just cutting about half of the hole bigger, and what that's going to do is it's going to create you're going to cut the whole circle, but it's only going to be halfway through. And again, for how much depth you need, you use a larger or smaller bearing wheel. So you would just go around with that, and then it'll leave a ridge, and you want to do it about halfway, because you'll need the lower ridge for the next tool to ride on. Alright, so we got our first bit in place. Height is adjusted to where the blade cuts only halfway down. So let's go ahead and get this cut out, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. By the way, this is a really nice cordless router. I use it on all my custom sub boxes. I don't even need my corded router anymore. So if you guys want to look for a router for woodworking or sub box building, man, can't beat this thing. I'll put a link below if you're interested. Let's get back to it. Alright guys, so there's step one. See how we cut about halfway down? So the top part is cut with the bearing blade, the bottom is untouched. So now we have this edge to use for the second tool's bearing to ride on to cut the whole thing uniform. So let's get that done. So the next tool we're going to use is a trimming bit. There's two kinds of trimming bits, one with the bearing towards the shank and one with the bearing at the end. So the reason for this is what you're doing, plus some routers are table mounted where the bits are sticking up, and handheld routers, they're sticking down this way. So this is what you're going to need for this one. The bearing needs to be towards the shank. So we already cut our groove halfway down with this tool. So let me show you what this does and why we needed to only do it halfway on the circle. Alright guys, so we got the second tool on there with the bearing on the top. And the bearing is going to ride on the part that we already cut out. So this is going to use that as a guide and then cut the bottom half. So there you have it, pretty easy. Now we got a perfect size hole. Didn't take too long, wasn't much hassle. And the good thing, it didn't even mess up the carpet around the edges. So very cool. Hope this helped you guys. Thanks again for watching.